What keyword ranking strategies are you currently using? The entire goal for ranking is how many orders can we possibly get through that one specific search term. Now, I know there's a lot of talk in our space around like, oh, target like long tail search variations of the keyword and all that stuff. That does help. It's not going to have the most impact. So the most impact for any ranking keyword is going to be getting orders specifically through that search, getting a lot of orders. So we don't just want one, we want a lot. And also making sure that our click-through rate and our conversion rate are really high on those key terms. So I'll be honest with you, the biggest impact on ranking you can have is really by picking the right keywords. So if your question was, how do I figure out what keywords do I rank on? I would say like look for things that you can afford to spend a lot, i.e. you're not losing money, meaning ACoS isn't like so crazy high that you can't afford it. You want to look for things that you have really good conversion rates. Bonus points if you have good click-through rates here, but I would go for conversion rates over click-through rates. And then you just want to like put money towards that. Now, if you say, how do I rank on this specific keyword, then that question is a little bit different. And I'm just going to tell you like push volume. Now, what I recognize is that me saying, hey, push volume through a one specific search might mean that that's not super profitable. So that's where I'm saying like the real trick is going to lie in the actual targets that you select to rank on. Other things, some pro tips and some pro hacks are more advanced but can be helpful here, is if you have a specific search where it's like crazy expensive and you just don't really have the budget for it. Again, that goes back to keyword selection. Make sure you're selecting keywords where you can afford to spend that budget on it. But if we're on a specific keyword, you want to make sure that you're showing high enough in search that you can really get those good conversions and get those eyeballs on the product. But maybe you can't afford a ton of clicks because there's a lot of clicks and they're really expensive. And use the budget as sort of a lever to cap or meter how much money you are spending for that ranking play. Now, how effective that is going to be how many orders your market is making, and that's relative. So when I talk about trying to get a large amount of orders, it's relative to the other competition that is on that particular search.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Ask Junglr. This is the time and the place where you can come and get answers to your most pressing Amazon advertising questions. And so with that, I'm super excited, which by the way, if you guys can see and hear me, let me know, because sometimes I have issues with my mic or my camera, so it's always helpful to know, hey, hopefully everything is working and we are live. But yeah, this segment is all about you and getting answers to Amazon advertising so you can leverage your ad spend to actually grow your sales instead of just destroying profits. It's a pay-to-play platform in a lot of ways, but there is a way to pay and play without having to lose out, and that is what we help do for brands. So I'm the co-founder of the Amazon Ads Agency. Hey, my name is Elizabeth Greene. You may have seen our content around the web, but that is what we do, and we've been doing for the last, 6-7 years now. So it has been a minute, and we've worked in all types of categories. I'm seeing some questions now in the toy category. I have experience in the toy category, clothing, supplements, gourmet foods, all of the above. So we definitely have a good handle on what is going on, not necessarily just on Amazon advertising specifically, which we are staying very much up to date on that, but also what is the specific strategies that are going to get you the best results in individual subcategories as well. So the way that we run it here, if this is your first time joining in, hey, we want to welcome you. If you are joining again, you know the drill. Drop your most pressing Amazon ad questions into the chat, and I will pull them up and I will get you all some answers. Lots of developments happening. We are already prepping inventory, prepping changes. We are well on our way into bracing for Q4 with a lot of our seasonal accounts. Seasonality around like clothing is a huge thing. the shifts that happen there. A lot of our clients are sending in more inventory for just kind of prepping and bracing themselves for Q4 and what that will bring. We had a whole internal strategy meeting just this morning around adjusting advertising for inventory. That's a huge thing. And then we have some accounts where it's like they send in inventory, but it's highly seasonal. And so we have to be very particular with kind of how we're going to go about it, because we need to ramp up, but we also need to get the profits up as well, not lose money, but we can't be left with excess inventory as well. So it's very much like a tightrope walk in a lot of the accounts we're managing on kind of how to go about that. But then some accounts, Q4 may not be your thing. Like we have some automotive categories. Now for some of the products, they're definitely geared towards helping automotive during winter months, winterizing things. That's not really a thing where I live here in Florida. But on a lot of the country, that is a huge thing. And so like, how do you leverage that? What are the capabilities of like on-platform ads, and then also like even getting into DSP and things as well. So if you need it, I got your answers. So again, use the chat box wherever you are. Already seeing a couple in as well. Ahmed showing up and saying great. Saying you are great. Appreciate that. Very kind words. So Ahmed, if you have any Amazon ad questions, feel free to drop them. We will get you answers. And by the way, typically what happens on these shows is that in these weekly lives, which again, we're doing weekly. I got a huge backlog of these. But if you want to ask a question, I highly recommend you get it in sooner rather than later, because the chat typically fills up. I will be here for a solid hour. But I'm going to get to what I can. So with that being said, we have a good question around deals. This is a huge thing to optimize ads for. So the question was, during the first part of our deal, we were selling 7 pieces a day. So it's a $100 educational choice. It's definitely at the top end of the price range. Definitely have experience in high-end products as well. And the remaining 4 days, only 4 pieces in total. So there's no major fresh changes at the level of the listing or niche and offer. The ranking was even improved, which is fantastic. It's a great way to leverage deals. So decreasing your VSR or increasing ranking, both of those things can be impacted by running deals and increasing the velocity. The question was, I guess maybe it's current back to school period. I would say, like, obviously if I had access to the data, I could dig in and find a couple more things. But I can tell you the way in which I view it. So we have what we call like the Amazon sales equation. So there's 3 things that when multiplied together will make up your sales. And why this is helpful to understand is because if something changed in the sales, then, or in this case, you can look at units as well. But if something changed, you want to know why. And so the 3 things that are factored in, and the 2 that I'm going to recommend you look at, is 1, sessions. I'm assuming you're a Seller Central account. Vendor Central don't have access to business reports and sessions. But you can look at the traffic, which is your sessions, multiplied by your conversion rates, which get unit session percentage inside of business reports. And then if you multiply that, if you want to look at sales, like, oh my gosh, sales dropped, why, right? Then you would look at your average order value. So basically it's how much traffic am I getting to the listing, how much of that traffic is converting, and when I do convert, how much am I making? And that's going to make up my sales. So the question is, when you drop from 7 pieces to 4 pieces, was it because you lost traffic and visibility, or was it because conversion rates went down? I would just go. So what I would do is I would go and I would pull those numbers for the first day, and then I would pull them for the second day, and I would pull them for the third day. And then I would take a look and say, okay, was it that traffic remained the same and I had a decrease in conversion rate, or was it that I had the same traffic, or I didn't have as much traffic? And so not as much traffic could be, I don't know what you're doing for ad optimizations. If there was a decrease in performance, there could have, like, if you have ad automations on there, sometimes that will like adjust things. You said there was no major changes, so I'm going to rule that out. The other thing that may be factored in is if you have if you are running low on inventory, actually in our experience, this is something that we kind of recommend to our brands. If you have less than, I think it's somewhere between 40 and 50 days, so a good sweet spot's like 47 days, pro tip. That is definitely not my pro tip. That is one. So we have some team members on our team who have like seller experience and have been running their own brands for like many years. And so they've done a lot of testing around like inventory positions and other things and like pricing changes and stuff. We felt that was important to bring on board because ads kind of touch everything. And so if there was, 7 pieces, I don't know how much you typically keep in stock, but it could have been like, say if it was a decrease in the conversion rates, then it could have been that you had less coverage. And so ship times won't show as fast cross country. That could have been a factor as well. And then in terms of the back to school, yes, that can have been a factor. But what I do is I like looking at the data. So just take a look if it's because if it's traffic, it could have been, like decreases in search or something. But if it was a conversion rate issue, like what we noticed is that when inventory gets below a certain position, you kind of have, it decreases the conversion rates typically. So I'm not sure if that helped, Thomas, but hopefully it did as well. Question. Hi, do you think it is important to analyze new to brand customers? I would say yes. I really like analyzing new to brand. Although I will say this, new to brand becomes more important when you are looking at like repeat purchase products. That can be really helpful. So things like supplements, some of our food categories, those ones have like repeat purchase, like subscribe and saves and things. And so if you have like, say, a really good subscribe and save rate, which that's something we help track for our brands, like, hey, is our subscribe and save going up? There was one of our brands who was in having some stocking issues. And so that actually decreased the number of subscribe and saves, which is hugely impactful for the growth of the brand. So there, if we know we have a certain subscribe and save rate, and then obviously probably like repeat purchase customers, they may already be on subscribe and save, but if we have new to brand, then that is really helpful. The other thing that's really helpful is, so for some of our more recognized brands, we work with some pretty big name brands, and for them, they, just because again they're larger companies, they have a better understanding of like when someone they have pretty good brand significance, and so when somebody purchases one of the within one of their products, if it's a new to brand, then they already have the metrics to understand what is that going to do for their overall brand growth. So their new to brand can be very helpful. Now, I'll be honest with you, if you are a private label seller and you don't really have a good, strong subscribe and save, it is helpful to calculate the lifetime value of a customer. That is something that you can do. And so there, again, if you're looking at what is the lifetime value of a customer, which if you're doing that correctly, you're not just saying like, how many like order, like you're actually looking at the purchase orders and you're looking at the individual shopper, whatever it is, I forget the data point but you can basically see how many times a shopper has like purchased again from you. That's something, again, using the tools that we have, one of them being Kpop, KAPOQ, love them, have been using them for 2 years. They have a fantastic way for us to calculate the lifetime value. And then if you know that you have a really strong lifetime value, then tracking new to brand in advertising can be really helpful. Now, if you don't have access to AMC, then this won't be applicable. But if you do have access to AMC, which again, we have a seat, we can be an agency partner with Amazon, then you can actually calculate new to brand orders or new to brand metrics, even for sponsored products ads as well. So inside the ad console, again, new to brand is typically like sponsored brand ads. I want to say they have it for sponsored display ads. Don't quote me on that. It's been a hot minute since I checked that. But it is really nice to be able to validate that you have a really strong new to brand in sponsored products as well. And we can pull that down even to the specific campaign level, which is helpful. So new to brand, helpful to calculate? Yes, because it helps you understand if you are truly making incremental growth for the brand which again, if you have repeat purchase items or you have a really strong brand that you're looking to build up, say you have additional and then multiple products and things, you calculate you have a high lifetime value, then going after new to brand customers is a great way to, again, to get them into your ecosystem and get them purchasing more. What is the difference between using deals and using price discounts or Amazon sale? Yeah, so deals will give you a specific badge. And so that's why it can be really helpful, because you kind of have like a strike through price, which tells shoppers that, okay, you know, this used to be this price and now it's this one. But what happens when you have a specific deal is that the shopper, it's very apparent that it's very obvious that there is a price discount happening. And when you just decrease the price, again, it's helpful because they get a lower price. And so that can be helpful in driving sales, but it's not necessarily going to be super, super obvious to the shopper that this is in fact a lower, like a much lower price than it was. Yeah. Saying it was about 4 pieces in 4 days total. Yeah, that is a significant drop. I would want to know if it's a traffic thing or if it's a conversion thing. I would calculate that and then just kind of go from there. For deals and discounts, does Amazon still require your discount price to be lower than the 30-day lowest price? I believe so, to my knowledge. I have better people in my network than me. Who would give you a much more solid answer. I'm going to say I think so, but I'm not going to be the foremost expert on that. Question, what is your strategy for the first? Oh, you're saying launching products on Amazon Canada. This is a fantastic question, and I'm going to point you to a specific resource that we have. So if you go to our website, which is junglr.com, if you go to resources and you go to product launch strategy, you can actually steal our complete launch playbook. It goes through this is literally the playbook that we use when we launch brands. I will drop this into the chat as well, although it looks like you are listening in on LinkedIn. So unfortunately, this is not going to post to LinkedIn, but if you want it, you can go to our website. And let me actually pull up the playbook for you and kind of go through basically how we do it. So I would recommend starting out in Exact Match. Now, it is great that you added contacts that you are in the Canadian marketplace. What we find is that in Canada, the search volumes tend to be a lot lower than, and not always, it's highly category dependent. So what I will say to you or anyone else launching in any other smaller categories, a lot of the EU countries like Italy, sometimes France, again, it's highly category dependent. UK tends to have pretty good volumes. Germany can have good volumes. Australia also has really small volumes. Netherlands has like next to no search volume associated with it. And then what you're going to want to do is be really specific with you're looking at the search volume. You want to go into it eyes wide open. So here I talk about like finding your anchor keyword, and doing relevant keyword research. So you want to look, I mean, like in this recommendation, we talk about launching on keywords that have at least a couple thousand search volume. You may or may not be able to find that in Canada, but having really good, like looking at the search volume of the relevant keywords will be really beneficial to you, because on Amazon, what you're doing is you're not creating demand. Amazon advertising. Now, if we talk DSP, that's completely different. You can create demand with DSP. But when we're talking about Amazon advertising, you don't create the demand, you simply harness it. And so by looking at keyword search volumes and what search volume is available, that will give you kind of a lay of the land on what is possible and what's to be expected in terms of sales. From there, what we recommend doing, so you're going to choose we recommend about 10 ranking keywords to start. You can go a little bit more, you can go a little bit less. Again, this document goes through a lot more in-depth explanations than I'm going to be able to do on this call. But in terms of campaign setup, our recommendation is doing single keyword exact match campaigns with those 10 keywords. And honestly, your goal in the beginning is just to figure out, where does this product convert? And you're probably not going to convert on all 10, and that's normal, and that's to be expected. So what you're going to do is you're going to put out kind of your 10 feelers, you're going to run your exact match keyword campaigns, and then you're going to take a look at those campaigns over the span of the next couple of days and say, okay, when do I start? Like, where am I getting sales for these specific keywords? And then starting bids, we just go with suggested bids, or you can go a little bit higher. Starting bids are just that. They're a start. The starting bids, to be honest, aren't super accurate, but that's fine. You just need a starting point. And then I ever go over budget starting here. And what you need to do is, your goal in the beginning is just to get impressions. So over the span of a couple days, you're going into the ad console every single day and you're saying, okay, I'm going to increase bids until I start to get impressions. And then once you get impressions, then you're going to start saying, okay, are those impressions leading to clicks? And again, you're looking at this funnel. So it's impressions, clicks, and orders. So you need the impressions first, then we get clicks, then we see if they generate orders, and then our goal is to find out as many as we can, obviously, but as many, how many of those initial keywords that I set in there are leading to orders. And then once they're leading to orders, then you're off to the races, because then you know where your market is. And again, I go over, let me know. I mean, if we want to go more in depth in this, I'm seeing more questions in the chat. Ranking strategy is, pretty extensive. But if anyone has any other questions on ranking, let me know. That's how I would approach it. The only caveat I would say is on in the Canadian market, search volumes tend to be lower, so you definitely just want to take a look at that. Really, what is the best strategy for the area rug niche? Yes, you want to niche down as much as you can. Again, focusing on search volume. But in our experience, in variations, especially, we've advertised rugs, bedding. I'm trying to think other somewhat relevantly clear ones. So in these categories, there's very specific size and style searches. So what I would do is I would take a look at the overall category, and then I would understand where am I playing in this category? Am I more high-end area rugs? Do I have area rugs that are, say wool? Is it a specific, I want to know, I want to understand my product thoroughly, and then I want to take that understanding and apply it to my market research. And then you also want to know, what sizes of area rugs are shoppers most looking for. So if I sell wool oriental rug 5x7 or something, and I had a product, again, because I understand my product very well, and I had a product that was related to that, then I'm going to take that one specific product that matches that shopper query, and I'm going to advertise it on that search. So basically what you can do is you can take that ranking strategy, you could take sort of that your normal strategy, and then you're adding a layer of just kind of go after specificity. And when you're going after the specific keywords, you want to make sure that only the products that fit that search description are the ones that are being advertised in those campaigns. You cannot automate that. You can't. Trust me, I've been down the friggin' rabbit hole to try. That is not something you can automate. You have to put in the manual work, but in my experience, it performs so much better. You would think, so in the bedding category, you have queen size, king size, full size. And what we found, surprisingly enough, because in a lot of those categories, the main image is the same, because it's the same packaging, it's in a package. And so a lot of things are similar. And so say you just put all of the variations in there, the king size, the queen size, whatever, and then you're advertising after queen, surprisingly enough, if you only put, say, the queen size sheets in there, targeting the queen, shopper searches that are calling out queen sheets, your conversion rates will be much higher. And so much higher conversion rates in ads means much better performance. So I would go after that. Hey Elizabeth, Thursday, I'm running an exact match campaign that's keywords related to product category. Seems to be the only thing getting sales with the campaign at very high ACOS. How do I optimize this, or do I stop the campaign? I'm assuming in this case that you have other campaigns that are working for you, hopefully, in this product. What I would recommend doing is I would go in and I would look at the search terms and see what specifically in this campaign is converting. So keywords related to this product category, even if it's exact match, it's still going to be targeting a different things. So what I would do is I would go into the search term report, understand why, like where is it converting, and then if there's terms that are not converting, you're getting a lot of clicks that are degrading performance, I would add those as negatives, and I would just make sure to keep the budgets in check. I can't log into my Amazon ads account. I haven't received an OTP. What to do? Okay, so there's this thing that happens, and not many people know that it happens. If you get the OTP wrong enough times, you will be locked out of the account. So what I recommend doing is you want to find out if this is indeed happening. So I would say, one, don't try and log in anymore. You want to go into your shopper account. Don't log into, don't try and log into Seller Central, because that same Seller Central login you can actually log into the regular Amazon.com account. So you want to get a hold of customer support. Don't tell them that you have a seller account, because seller support is horrible. Seller support will not help you, and you can't get a hold of them anyways, and you can't get into the account to set up a ticket, but you can contact customer support as a shopper. So you're acting like a shopper, you're acting like you have zero understanding of what's going on, and you act like you have no idea seller support exists. You are simply a customer, and you tell, hey, customer support, I have not received an OTP. I think my account has a security lock, and they will validate that with their back end team, because again, customer support is actually helpful and actually gets you some answers, and so they will validate if it is in fact a lock or not. And if it is a lock, you have to wait 12 hours. So again, every single time you log in, you try and log in, you get the OTP wrong, it will reset the clock, which is not great. So you want to wait the 12 hours, validate with customer support from Amazon that is in fact a lock on your account, and then what you do is you wait the 12 hours, and then you try and log in again, and you should receive an OTP code. You just want to make sure that the OTP code is correct, but if it stops sending OTPs, then that's the problem. So unfortunately, it is a waiting game, but it's a pain. Is there a way to know at a glance if your performance has dropped compared to last month? I just realized a week ago I was spending much less than last month with little time to recover. So if you go inside of business reports, I'm trying to think the easiest way, because the answer to that is yes, if you are tracking it or if you have a software that tracks it. So what we do is we have ways that we track internally, because we are part of the Amazon Advertising Partner Network. We have access to APIs. We have the ability to pull the data and create alerts for ourselves, and we have this whole backend system going. We're also pulling the daily sales, and so we can immediately catch if there's a degrade in performance. And then we also have access to a software which is called KPOC, which actually gives us a comparison tool, and it gives us, so we can go. So what we would do is we would look on a graph and say okay, is this performing or not? And then I would go back down, and I can look at every single KPI before and after, and it will tell me if something is dropped, which is fantastic, and why we use the tool, because we have a million accounts that I would have to analyze. That being said, if you're going to do it manually, there are some pretty decent alerts inside of business reports now. So if you have a Seller Central account, if you go into business reports, oftentimes there's cards that say like, oh, sales have dropped on this individual product or something like that. That can be really helpful. And so what you can then do is then click on those, and you can go down into business reports and sales summary by child item, find the child item, and it will pop out a chart that tells you like over time. And then why I also like that chart is it also gives you the data for other products that are like yours on Amazon. So then you can validate, is it a me problem or is it a category problem, which is always really helpful because sometimes it is a category problem. Other ways that you can look at it, and this is something that we would do, like we do this in the audits as well. We audit internally our own accounts, and we look at every single one of our accounts as a team on a weekly basis. And the thing that we look at is what are our sales month to date? How do those compare to the same month last year? And how do those compare to last month? And then we know, so we're tracking it like ongoing. Are we down? Are we up? What is our ACoS? What is our total ACoS? How does that compare? Is it up? Is it down? Where is it? So I would say if you don't have a cadence of looking at your account weekly to just see if it's up or down, like I would do that. But if you think it might be down since last month, then what I would do is I would pull those two date ranges and I would look at them. I would look at sales, I would look at ad sales, I would look at total sales, I would look at spend, and you can also look at other performance data, like if you have profitability, you can look at that. That's a great one. Or you can look at the ACoS and total ACoS and just see like, has something gone wrong? And then if it has, then you want to go through and you want to deep dive it. And that's, kind of looking at more metrics underneath that. But let's say the very least is an alert in business reports. But I would recommend if you don't have a software, then I would just start tracking it in a spreadsheet. To be honest, that's how I do it. We have more than 80. This next one, we have more than 80 variations. Which one to target? Good question. So I'm going to pop open this. This is our launch guide, but it also has data in here when it comes to dealing with variations, handling product variations. So actually, let me see if I can zoom in on this a little bit. Can I zoom in? All right, there we go. All right, steps to handling product variations. The one thing you need to understand about product variations is only one of your products is eligible to appear in any ad placement at any given time if it is a variation. So only one of them is going to show up. You can't have all 5 variations showing up at the same time. Now, you might have one of the variations that shows in organic and one shows in sponsored brand ads and one in sponsored product ads. But in terms of like specific ad placements, only one of them is going to show up. So what this means, and there's a lot of, like most of the questions I get is, hey, if I just throw all of the products in there, doesn't Amazon just pick the one that is the most relevant to the search? No, they don't. What they do is they pick the one that historically they think is going to convert the best, which doesn't always mean that they pick the best one for that specific shopper. An example, like clothing is the best example of this. Go to Amazon and search, let's do that right now because I think that's a really helpful, I'm going to type in a really specific search, like a really, really specific search. I'm going to type in blue button up shirt for women with stripes. Like this is, all right, let's even choose there. Button up shirt white. Okay, so this is pretty good. Like right here, these ones are all right. And then look, all of a sudden we get one, no stripes, no stripes. I said blue and white. Amazon's throwing their broom here. This is horrible. But I'm starting to go down the page and look, like a yellow one. So this is a classic example. This is an ad right here. This is yellow. This is not blue. And I would click on it. I don't want to cost anybody money, but it might be. See, there's 25 other colors and patterns. So if I go here, like they do have blue shirts. Now, I don't know if it's because how they had their ads set up, but they do have a blue shirt. But when I'm a shopper and I'm looking, unless I really like this specific one, but to be honest, it looks exactly like that one. I know this one has a blue shirt. So in that case, I'm probably going to just skip them over. I'm not going to go after that one, right? Here's a pink shirt, right? I searched for blue. Now we're getting some weird ones that are off my search. But that's what happens, and you can avoid that if you set up the ads properly. So here's how we do it. If you have if you have what we call a generic search, meaning like, let's just say I said women's button-up shirt with stripes. And I'm like, all right, all of my products are button-up and they all have stripes. So in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to advertise my best-selling variation because I don't know which one is going to perform best. But if I have anything that matches the keyword intent, so an example there is like women's blue button-up shirt, I'm only going to advertise my blue variations because I know that those are the ones that the shopper is looking for, and I know that the Amazon algorithm is not going to serve up the specific one for me, so I have to do the work for it. And so that's how we do it, and that's how we've been able to get much higher conversion rates, because in clothing, the conversion rates are really low. Like in one of our accounts, conversion rate on the app, like a unit session percentage, is like 4%, which is low by a lot of Amazon standards. It's pretty decent in the clothing category. We even have some brands with a good brand recognition, and they're running at like 2.9% unit session percentage. But the thing is, like, that one product that I talked about that had a 4% conversion rate, that's the unit session percentage. But because we ran such good, tight advertising, then we had an 8% conversion rate in our ads. So you can absolutely, if you're doing good targeting and you're being really specific with what you're targeting and you're going after relevancy and you're attaching that to variations that make sense for that, you can often, and you should be getting much higher conversion rates on your advertising than your unit session percentage. So that's how I would go about it. Yeah, you're saying I have from live. So 3 years experience, yes. Categories in the rug category, there's a lot of specificity in there. And people, the other thing is, if you're in a category like this, clothing a little bit, but things like area rugs, certain technical items, things with home decor, not like a specific home decor where like everybody looks the same. I'm talking about like large wood bookshelf or something like that. People will go down, especially for area rugs. Shoppers are very, very particular about what it is they're looking for, because I have a specific size of room, I have specific color palette, I have something that I need to make absolutely sure is going to fit within my home decor. So shoppers get really picky. So what we've actually observed in some of these categories, not all of them, but some of these categories where shoppers are super particular, that even ranking on page 2 or 3 can have a significant increase because shoppers are going that far down into search. I mean, like if I'm going to Amazon and I'm searching for like metal cooking stir spoon or something like that, I'm like, I just need to know it's a metal spoon and like it's fine, right? I'm not being super particular. Maybe somebody has a cool one that I'm like, oh yeah, that way, but I'm not like, oh, I have to find this exact shade of green with this much white to balance it out because that's what I need to match my drapes. Like, nobody's doing that, but in the rug category, they absolutely are. So that's what you're looking to do, is just like, where are those specific searches happening? Where do I know I have a product that serves that market? And how do I make sure that those are the variations of the rug that I get in front of them? Someone said, yes, I have other campaigns that are working pretty well. Okay, cool. So you do have other stuff. It's not only the one. I have a daily budget of $100 for the whole account, but weirdly, Amazon users never even seems to use all of it. usually uses 50 to 75. Why is this the case? My bids are on the higher with modifiers that can take it even higher. I usually don't get clicks during midday though, mostly at night. Some of the sales mostly at night. So the one thing I would say is that Amazon ad data is not real time. And I don't know what the product in the category is, but it could be in your specific category that people are coming back and they're searching. I'm going to actually take this down because it's really big. But I still want to talk about this. So the other thing is, if you want to spend all of your budget, you're going to have to probably find more targets to go after. So I would start launching more campaigns and testing targets, because sometimes even if you have a high enough bid, it's also dependent on search volume as well. So again, Amazon advertising is simply capturing demand. It's not creating it. So how many clicks you can possibly get, when those clicks happen, how those clicks convert is highly dependent on like market conditions. So sometimes in certain categories, if you have a budget and you can spend it and performance is good, like the fact that you're testing like keywords related to this product, fantastic. That's a great test to run, right? So it's like finding other tests like that you can use that additional allocated budget to see what you can do to push sales even further. Thanks for the regular help every week. It is my pleasure. Thank you for joining. You always have great questions. Wonder if we all set up on service provider portal as Amazon expected to start shooting down secondary user accounts next week. Yeah, I have no idea. We're bracing for it. The thing is, like, the user permissions inside the portal are still weird. Like, they're still weird. There's still a lot of mess. So they keep pushing back and pushing back. Honestly, this is really funny because this is what happened on a much smaller level because it didn't affect as many people, but with bulk files. So they used to have an old version of bulk files, and then they moved to like a 2.0 version, and they kept both versions inside of the portal for the longest time. And they kept saying like, hey, everybody, we're gonna like, first they put a deadline, like, hey, everybody has to use it by this date. And so like, everybody scrambled, and then they realized like, oh, not many people, like most people are still using the old one, and they pushed it back. I think they pushed it back like 6 months. I don't know. But we shall see how that goes. I hope they get it under control because honestly, it's an absolute pain. Could you please send us the A to Z launch head to your website? Put my email received. It could not. Please send. Yeah. So if you go to our website as well, let me pop that open. There is a chat bot here. So if you have any questions, I mean, like, honestly, I get these messages. We don't always pick up in conversation, but if you want to leave us message, use that chat bot, send me your email, and I'll get you the launch guide. I'm not sure why that's not working. How would you, oh, sorry, I didn't even share. Yeah, if you go, let me see. If you go to our website, there is a chat widget somewhere which should load. Yeah, so there's this little chat widget. You can use the chat widget and then just ask me there. I'll send it to you. All right, where's the one? I want to make sure I missed it. How would you approach a product category in terms of increasing market share? Your well-known brand in the DNA, kits, category. Your sales mainly come from branded terms, few keywords in the category. Yeah, I would say in terms of generating demand, I'm not the foremost expert on it, but things like TikTok or other ones are much better platforms for generating demand. If you want me to make a connection between somebody who I know runs TikTok ads and does it really well, I'm more than happy to send you over that recommendation. But the other thing that you can look at is Amazon DSP. DSP will allow you to run more upward funnel ads, which would allow you to generate demand on some level. Although, again, that demand is like going out and finding people who are already like searching on the web and then driving them back to your Amazon site. But in terms of like hopefully creating some sort of viral demand, then TikTok ads are really helpful. I would say sometimes in Amazon advertising, and it depends, and normally I'll be honest with you, the conversion rates are much lower. Sometimes you can find like related categories. So I'm trying to think of like a good thing off the top of my, like when it comes to DNA cuts, is there a positioning of the DNA? Is it like, I'm trying to think, what would be a good adjacent category? You would want to look at like what is the demographic? What are other products that people typically use when they're thinking about like DNA kits? And then is there a way to like get in front of those shoppers, or sometimes like broader terms you can try and advertise on like broader terms. Sometimes Amazon will not give you any impressions of the keywords, not like really specific to your product. So sometimes we found that product targeting can be a good way to go about that. But I would say in terms of like a lot of demand, it's going to be difficult to create that. Again, with on-platform ads, DSP might be something. It depends on what kind of budgets you have though. But if you have the budget to do it, you probably want to look into DSP, or again, look at getting the product on another platform. You're saying only one variation shows up in search. Well, what if I have 5 men's jeans, each with his own size color? If I run 5 separate campaigns of the same keyword, but all 5 products get picked? No. No, they would not. Let me go back to that search page and I'll show you. So you will get one product showing in search per ads placement. And I'll show you what I mean by ads placement. Because technically when it comes to can your product show up more than one time on this search page, the answer is yes, but they can't show in more than one placement. So let me show you. So this banner up here, this is a sponsored brands ad. That's one placement. So your product could show here, and of course you can have multiple variations here. This is, where is another sponsored ad? So here's, let's see. So customers frequently viewed. This whole section right here is actually a widget. And so on this widget, wait, I can draw. Oh, cool. Oh, no, I can't. Never mind. I thought I could draw on the screen. I was getting all excited. So this whole like widget right here is technically another ads placement, so you could show up there. If we go down further, this is a sponsored placement. I don't know if anyone can see my mouse, but this is a sponsored placement right here. And so in this case, that's another placement. So one of your variations could show here, and you can have a variation that shows here, and you can have a variation that shows here because they're different placements. But what would not happen is you're not going to get one variation taking up this spot and one variation taking up this spot, because those are 2 of the same like type of ads or type of ads placements, if that makes sense. So it doesn't matter if you have them in separate campaigns, you have them in the same campaign, however, it doesn't matter how you build it out, you will not get more than Amazon allows you per listing, no matter how many variations. So that's actually the advantage. If you have a variation that can be a standalone product, that is a benefit of having more than one listing and not grouping them. But if the product isn't strong enough to spend a lot of ads on, then like it doesn't matter if it's split out. Nobody's going to find it anyways because it's not ranking. So there is a strategic advantage to doing variations. 4% units conversion rate in apparel. Yes, if dreams come true. Yeah, sometimes you're getting like a 2%. So is what it is. For good Q4 performance, will it benefit us advertisers how to rank higher even in real time? A cost now is higher than, I'm going to find my presentation. I did on seasonal products because we tested this. What we found is that if you go, let me see, can I find it? What we find is that if you go super aggressive when conversion rates are low, what will happen is that you will end up losing money. So it's all about timing with seasonal products, and it is a pain and it is a beast, but it's all about timing. So let me show you this. So this is a caddy star. I'm not going to go through this entire thing. So this was the strategy this was our thesis, and this is the strategy you're asking about, and one that's talked a lot about the space, but I don't think anybody's tested it. So everybody's just spouting theories. This is what we found works, and we found this out 2 years ago, I think, 3. Not by me, one of my amazing ads managers. She had an account, and you'll see it here in this case study. So basically, we tried to rank, and so it does work. You can rank the products. And so the theory is, if I lose a little bit of money and I rank now, then I'll make up for it afterwards. And what we found after the season was done is that total ACoS is just so crazy. Even when you get really low ACoS during the peak seasonal days, it doesn't make up for it. You can look at the accounting data. We're running like a 6.7% profits, which is not great. Now, this is a really competitive category. We launched it super late. This client's super aggressive intentionally, which is why we were in conversation through the whole thing, but it wasn't that great. So we found is what ends up happening if you launch too early is margins take a massive hit. And so when we were looking at it and we were looking at the search volume, what we found is that the sales spike in all of our accounts pretty much always mirrors the search volume of our main keywords. And so what we did is we pivoted our strategy, and I talk about, because total ACoS is ad spend divided by total sales. So if you spend and sales just aren't there because there's no market demand, all you do is just drive up total ACoS. So what we did is we did some deep research. These are screenshots of Helium 10. You can use other tools. Basically, you want to look at the search volume history of the keyword, and that will help you anticipate, relatively speaking, within a couple days of themselves, when that peak season will hit. And then what you do is you just make it. Now, what I will say is that if you have like a fall apparel item, that seasonality peak will vary based on weather conditions. So there are some products where it's like, we kind of know during roughly this month that we're going to hit peak season. We're going to start pushing into the season, but it's also dependent on if people are cold or not. So there's that. So what we did, we pivoted our strategy to mirror our ad spend pushes with the consumer behavior trends. And so what we do, and then we have a pretty good after peak season adjustments. And so what we did is we went from a 6.7% SKU net margins to a 28.9% net margins just by mirroring this. And you can see the total ACoS before peak season was only at 13.2, where it had been crazy high before. And so that's what we did. So we're mirroring, you notice this trend is our ad spend. We're looking for market cues in sessions increases. You can see the sessions increase right here, and we start pushing up spend to meet it. So you got to pay attention. It's really intensive if you want to run this strategy, by the way, which is one of the main reasons why we have really low ratios of ad managers to accounts. So we can watch stuff like this like a freaking hawk. But if you want to have the best performance and maintain margins for seasonal products, that's what you want to do. You want to. Now, what you're doing in the meantime is making sure, you got to make sure that the ads are set up. You do want to test. You want to understand what keywords convert for your product. You need to have the foundation in place. So I'm not saying don't do anything until peak season. No. Do your testing, get your keywords in check, get your campaign strategy, get it all there. But once you have it, you're not going super aggressive to rank the product until the conversions are there. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah. Launching a new client brand with one product, a few variations is going to be useful to do sponsor brands video ads now, or best to focus on sponsored products more for now. So I would say I like focusing on sponsored product ads, but if you can get the video creatives, I would recommend running video ads. Video ads, in our experience, have some of the highest click-through rates and highest conversion rates. And about 2 years ago, or for the last 2 years, I was saying like, oh, video ads do not help with ranking at all. I don't know if it's a shift in the ad algorithm. I don't know if it's a shift in the ranking algorithm, but we have had some indications that sponsor brands video now does have some impact on ranking. I would say that is specifically when you are targeting the video ad to a product page. I don't think we've seen the same correlation if you're targeting it to a brand store, but definitely if you are taking that video and redirecting it to a brand store, it is beneficial. And I haven't shared this publicly because I'm working on a more pretty, like, kind of lead magnet-y one. But if anybody wants it, if you go and you use, how do I want to do this? Yeah, I don't mind getting pinged. If you want to go and just use the chat bot on our, only for those of you listening in, or I guess the replay, but if you go to our website, use this little chat option, leaving me a message, and then what I will do is I will send you our SOP that we give clients on how to create high click-through rate sponsored brand creatives. Because there's a very specific type of video that we found works really well on sponsored brands video, or when I say works really well, I mean converts really well. And I do have a presentation on that, but basically you want to make sure it's very different. A lot of brands, when it comes to creating video assets, they think it's kind of like, oh, you have to do like a stop the scroll thing. So it's like a lifestyle, get somebody's attention, that kind of thing. No, you don't. Like, those kind of videos actually don't perform well on the Amazon platform. What we have seen is that it's really about making sure in the first 3 seconds of the video, the opening frame, that you are showing the shopper that you have exactly what they are looking for. Because Amazon ads are very much, there's so much search intent on Amazon. Amazon will tell you, like, hey, shoppers come to Amazon to research products. Like, they do. Like, you might go on, like, gift for mom, like, funny gift for mom. Like, there is some research happening when it comes to, like, giftable products. But when you're talking, like, specific products, shoppers may do research, but they already are coming to the platform with, like, I want to purchase this. And then they're simply looking around at what are my options. So that's the only real research that happens. And so what happens if you try and do like a stop the scroll, or here's this beautiful lifestyle image, if it's not apparent what specific product is being advertised, classic example. I have to see if I can go find that video. There was a video that went viral on LinkedIn. Someone took a screenshot. It was this really, really cute video of like a dog wagging its tail. And it was like, I think it was for like food, but it was like throwing food everywhere. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is a great example, because it was eye-catching. It was intriguing. It was interesting. And so everyone was like, this is the best video creative asset I've ever had. And everybody's like, how do I recreate this in my market? Well, a couple months later, it was found out and released that actually that video asset got shut down because it didn't convert. And why didn't it convert? Because it was a very much like an eye-catching, scroll-stopping, like the type of video you would want to have on like Facebook, where somebody's scrolling and they're like, oh my gosh, what is that? That's so super cute, right? Those types of videos do not work and convert well on Amazon. What works and converts well is when you can say, here is this product that I have. It is exactly what you are looking for. And by the way, here's a couple things that make my product unique and special. And if you can showcase that in your video, that is how you win the click, but also the conversion. So I have a whole SOP on that. Feel free to use the chat bot. If you're watching this replay, you can use the chat bot for that. But yeah, you want very specific video creatives, but if you should be using them on launch, I would say the hardest thing is to get the video asset. Once you have the video asset, I would highly recommend going through and running it. So hopefully that was helpful. We are basically right at time. This has been another fantastic Ask Junglr episode. If you have any further questions, make sure to show up same time, same place next week. And I will be here to answer more of your most pressing Amazon ad questions so you can leverage your advertising to grow your sales without having to absolutely obliterate your profitability. So if we can grow and get money back in our pocket, that is ideally how we want to leverage ads. So make sure you show up same time, same place. I appreciate everyone who answered questions, and I will see you all in the next.
And that wraps up this episode of the Ask Junglr Amazon Advertising Podcast. I hope you found these insights and strategies helpful in your Amazon PPC journey. Remember, if you have a burning Amazon ad question that you'd like answers to, head over to junglr.com/live to join our next live Q&A session. Until next time, keep optimizing those ads and stay hungry.